Yo, what is going on YouTube? It is your boy GZTV back with another video, and today we are going to be talking about and reviewing the 1968 American psychological horror film written and directed by Roman Polanski, based on Ira Levin's novel from the previous year called Rosemary's Baby. Yeah, Rosemary's Baby. This was, again, based on a book. I think we've done a lot of book-to-film adaptations over time, especially with a guy like Stephen King being on here on this channel all sorts of times. So, yeah, pretty solid one. I mean, this is definitely deserving of some awards. It's very interesting. And it kind of centers itself on like one huge twist that happens at the end, and a twist that's kind of looming throughout the film, I guess, but it really hits you at the end, and then the movie just stops, which is, I feel questionable about some of those movies of that nature, but this is pretty iconic. This will be remembered for years. It still has been remembered for years. It came out over 50 years ago, so let's get into it. So the story takes place in 1965, where we have stage actor Guy Woodhouse and his wife Rosemary, who's played by Mia Farrow, who's like one of the like huge A-list cast members of this movie. So they tour the Bramford, a large Renaissance revival apartment building in New York City. They're trying to find a new life. You know, it's a young couple. It's kind of typical. You know, you're trying to find a place and start a family there, and this is kind of what they've settled on. So they noticed the previous tenant, an elderly woman who recently died, displayed odd behaviors. There's all sorts of clues of weird stuff kind of going on. And again, it's kind of like a normal horror movie, a typical horror movie where you have these weird occurrences going on throughout the movie. A lot of speculation going on, like, oh, these people might be witches here. And that's kind of, what this movie, the direction this movie steers in. And it's a premise as old as time, and this movie is as old as time, so one can only assume that this was pretty much an originator of that type of film. One of them, at least. So, for example, the previous tenant moved heavy furniture in front of a linen closet she had still been using. Despite warnings from their landlord Hutch about the Bramford's dark past, Rosemary and Guy move in. They decide this is a nice looking place. Seems like we have some solid neighbors. It's a pretty elegant, nice area right by like where Guy works, which is a weird name. I guess that was pretty popular back in the day to have a name like that. But yeah, so in the basement laundry room, Rosemary meets a young woman by the name of Terry Gianofrio, a recovering drug addict whom Minnie and Roman Castevet, the Woodhouse's elderly neighbors, have taken in. They kind of like rescued her from the streets pretty much, and like wanted to help her live a good life and get her back on her feet and stuff like that. So yeah, which is really nice. So obviously it paints a picture for these people to be really good people, well, really nice, wholesome, elderly people. So Rosemary and Guy first meet the Castevets when they return home to find Terry dead of an apparent suicide, having jumped from the Castevets' seventh floor apartment, which is extremely fucked up. The movie starts right away just extremely messed up. So they have dinner with the couple, but Rosemary finds them meddlesome. She's not really a fan of, their mannerisms and how they talk, and pretty soon they get like super clingy, and Rosemary's not having it. And as a viewer, you kind of relate with her too, because it's like, yeah, these people are kind of fucking weird. It seems like they are trying to manipulate you into like giving them something. I don't know. So, sorry. So she is bothered when Minnie gives her Terry's pendant as a good luck charm, saying it contains tannis root, which I don't know what the fuck that is. I don't know if that's like a real thing or not. I don't really care to research that, so let's just move on. So Guy is cast in a prominent play after the lead actor inexplicably goes blind, which is fucking crazy. A lot of things kind of connect at the end and make you kind of theorize about this movie, like something like some witchcraft probably happened to that guy or something. I don't know. Like once you think about everything that happens in this movie and then you find out how it ends, it's like that's why this happened, that sort of thing. So, with his acting career flourishing, Guy wants him and Rosemary to have a baby. They realize, they have the funds, they have the career and the living to start a family. I mean, obviously, Guy is the only one that works, and, the classic stay-at-home mother, which was quite a trope back then, and pretty much the gender roles of the 60s, really. So this movie comes from a different time. So, on the night that they plan to conceive, Minnie brings over individual cups of chocolate mousse for their dessert. They're having like a romantic dinner, and Minnie decides to compliment that. When Rosemary complains that it has a chalky undertaste, Guy criticizes her as being ungrateful, like Minnie went out of her way. And the fact that he said that, and again, looking later on, what happens. Like, oh, that's why he was defending these people so much when he didn't even want to go to dinner with them at first. Maybe once he met Roman, he was initiated into this witchcraft stuff, which is really weird. And we've obviously had a lot of like evil culty type stuff in the last couple movies we've watched, so that's definitely interesting. And that is really interesting. Anything for Jackson. The last three movies have been super like religious, which is not uncommon for horror movies, but I thought that was kind of a cool connection. So Rosemary consumes a bit more to mollify him, then discreetly discards the rest. So soon after, she grows dizzy and passes out. She kind of has like this like fever dream. It's almost like she's in a fucking like deep sleep / coma here. So in the dream state, Rosemary hallucinates being raped by a demonic presence. And again, that seems like kind of some foreshadowing. This was kind of one of the more iconic scenes in the movie. So yeah. The next morning, Guy explains the scratches covering Rosemary's body by claiming that he did not want to miss baby night and had sex with her while she was unconscious. So right there, it's some red flags. We have a bad feeling about Guy here. It's like, what the hell is wrong with you? Who would do this? He says he has since cut his nails. Okay, man. So Rosemary becomes pregnant with the baby due on June 28th, and I think they're still in like April or something like, or no, they're pretty far back because obviously it's like usually a 9-month pregnancy. But the elated Castovets insist that Rosemary go to their closest friend, Dr. Abraham Saperstein, a prominent obstetrician, rather than her own physician, Dr. Hill. Again, later on in the film, we learn why they had her do that, because he's a part of the group, the cult, the Satanists, whatever. So, during her first trimester, Rosemary suffers severe abdominal pains and loses weight, and I guess that is kind of normal for the trimester, first one, because I guess, now I'm not like a biologist, I'm not like a gynecologist or anything like that, but I'm pretty sure in the first trimester, like, the fetus isn't like developing and the baby's not really growing yet. It's just kind of like developing and like establishing some nutrients, I guess. So she lost weight because of, I guess, the need for nutrients for the baby. But by Christmas, her gaunt appearance alarms her friends and also Hutch, who has been researching the Bramfords' history, and he's found a lot of fucked up things, and he gave her kind of a final warning before he passed away, and we can only assume how he passed away, or who was responsible for that. So, before he can share his findings with Rosemary, he falls into a mysterious coma. So the witches caught wind of it. I guess they have like these telepathic skills or something, and they can like read people's minds. They're capable of a lot of things. I mean, possibilities are endless for a witch, especially in a horror movie. So Rosemary, unable to withstand the pain, insists on seeing Dr. Hill, while Guy argues against it, saying Dr. Saperstein will be offended. Obviously, yeah. I mean, these are like rival doctors, of course. Obviously, Saperstein is seen in the society as more like prominent, but yeah. So as they argue, the pains suddenly stop, and Rosemary feels the baby move. And again, this could be some like witchcraft coming in. When they feel threatened, they're gonna like make her feel better and like reassure her on some things. So 3 months later, Hutch's friend Grace Cardiff informs Rosemary that Hutch is dead. I mean, that's kind of expected. He was in a coma. Before dying, he briefly regained consciousness and said to give Rosemary a book on witchcraft, all of them witches, along with a cryptic message. The name is in an anagram, so he's kind of like giving her clues as to, how to find the truth about what's going on around her, because he knows there's some dark undertones, there's some dark things going on behind the scenes here at the Bramlock. So, using Scrabble tiles, Rosemary works out that Roman Castovet is an anagram for Stephen Mercado, the son of a former Branford resident and a reputed Satanist. So now she kind of knows what's going on. Like, everyone that's connected with the Castovets, everyone that they've recommended her to go to, whether it be the doctor, obviously Guy was talking to them, so he's been kind of converted to the dark side. They're all Satanists now. So she suspects that the Castovets and Dr. Saperstein belong to a coven and want her baby. And that is exactly what they want. That is exactly the motives of why they're doing everything. Yeah, Roman Castovet's just a rearrangement of Stephen Mercado, which I thought with the squabble tiles and the whole like foreshadowing of her playing squabble with her husband is kind of like a little bit of a symbolism, a little bit of a foreshadow there. So Guy discounts this and later throws the book away, making Rosemary suspicious. Like, why would he throw this away? Because he's behind some of it. So, terrified, she goes to Dr. Hill for help, but Dr. Hill assumes she is delusional and calls Dr. Saperstein. It's like the boy cried wolf type of situation. He arrives with Guy to take her home and threaten to commit her to a psychiatric hospital if she does not comply. There's nothing crazy about her. She realizes what's going around, and they're kind of like gaslighting her at the moment. So, Rosemary locks herself into the apartment. Somehow, Coven members get in, and Dr. Saperstein sedates Rosemary, who goes into labor and gives birth on the sedatives, which doesn't seem very healthy. I don't know if that would work in real life. That's really weird. I guess some people have to do that. I don't know. So when Rosemary awakens, she is told the baby was stillborn, meaning a fetal death. It wasn't even able to come out of the womb alive. So, I know you guys know what stillborn means, but as she recovers, though, she notices her pumped breast milk is being saved rather than discarded, which is fucking weird. So now she knows exactly what has happened. This group of Satanists have executed their plan perfectly. She stops taking her prescribed pills, becoming less groggy. The pills are to keep her sedated. So when Rosemary hears an infant crying, Guy claims tenants with a newborn have moved in upstairs. Again, trying to hide the fact that this baby is at this coven with a bunch of Satanists, surrounding it, worshipping it as, the son of the devil. So, believing her baby is alive, Rosemary discovers a hidden door in the hallway linen closet leading directly into Minnie and Roman's apartment, the same closet the previous tenant had blocked, and the same hidden door the coven members had used to access the apartment to subdue Rosemary. So everything is kind of starting to come together in the film. Everything is starting to kind of be explained. So, Guy, the Castovitz, Dr. Saperstein, and other coven members are gathered around a bassinet draped in black with an upside-down cross hanging over it. And you know what that means. These people are fucking evil. So, peering inside, Rosemary is horrified and demands to know what is wrong with her baby's eyes. And this movie creates a very interesting, sense of mystery to it because they never really show what the baby looks like. You can only assume, I guess, it's from, the demon from her visions. But Roman proclaims that the child, Adrian, is Satan's son and the supposed Antichrist, and that he has his father's eyes, which I guess are red. I don't know. I wonder if I know there's a remake, a miniseries remake somewhere on this on NBC, but yeah, no, I don't know if they made a sequel. But he urges Rosemary to mother her child, promising she does not have to join the coven. She doesn't have to conform to their satanic ways. She just needs to mother the child. So when Guy attempts to calm her, saying that they will be rewarded and can conceive their own children, she spits in his face. After hearing the infant's cries, however, Rosemary gives in to her maternal instincts and gently rocks the cradle, pretty much being converted to the dark side, which is a really fucked up way to end the film, But, yeah, let's kind of get into the review, and then that'll be the video. So this review should be pretty interesting because obviously this film came out over 50 years ago, so there's going to be we're going to talk about how people thought of it when it first came out and how people look at it, 50 years later. So, the movie, although it is somewhat pleasant, doesn't seem to work on any of its dark or powerful terms. I think this is because it is almost too extremely plausible. The quality of the young people's lives seem the quality of lives that one knows, even to the point of finding old people next door to avoid and lean on. One gets very annoyed that they don't catch on sooner, so yeah. The film is a delightful witch's brew, a bit over long for a lot of people, but nearly always absorbing, suspenseful, and easier to swallow than a novel. Apparently Ira Levin's book was kind of confusing to some people. Its suggestions of deviltry in a musty and still respectable old apartment house on Manhattan's Upper West Side are more gracefully and appealingly related than in the book, which some people found awfully silly when it wasn't downright noxious. The very idea of a contemporary case of witchcraft in which an innocent young housewife is impregnated by the devil is, to say the least, unnerving, particularly when the pregnancy is marked by all degrees of mental and physical pain. Several exhilarating milestones are achieved in Rosemary's Baby, an excellent film version of a diabolical chiller of a novel. Writer-director Roman Polanski has triumphed in his first U.S.-made pick, so obviously that's a pretty big deal for him. The film, or was a big deal at the time. The film holds attention without explicit violence or gore. Farrow's performance is pretty damn good here. Yeah. After the miscalculations of Cul-de-sac and Dance of the Vampires, which are films that kind of came out around the same time, Polanski had returned to the rich vein of Repulsion. Polanski shows an increased ability to evoke menace and sheer terror in familiar routines, cooking and telephoning particularly, and Polanski has shown his transformation of a cleverly calculated thriller into a serious work of art. It's obviously widely viewed as a classic nowadays. I mean, people really have appreciation for this movie. A lot of people like it. I would say it's a B to A movie in that range. It's pretty good. A frightening tale of Satanism and pregnancy that is even more disturbing than it sounds, thanks to convincing and committed performances by Mia Farrow and Ruth Gordon, who I think played Guy. Ruth Gordon, yeah, maybe. Yeah, people love this movie. I mean, it's one of the more highly critically acclaimed movies on any sort of website you can find. So, yeah, that's going to do it. I got to go get started on this stupid-ass project. 2K just announced what they're dropping for the season tomorrow, so I'll probably be grinding that. I think we're going to get a lot of 2K content for the weekend. I'll probably do a gameplay on the Pro Pass Paulo Bound Caro, maybe do a gameplay on, like, Opal Savonis or something. I don't think we're going to be able to do Dark Matters on the channel yet. That's the plan for the future. Pretty solid movie. I would recommend it. I'm out, guys.